Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. I'm Ibrahim here, and on behalf of knowledgeoman.com I'll teach you how to create this texture based wallpaper, which you can see here in the background, tiny boxes type. Okay, so this is my completed product and I won't be showing you exactly the same thing. So just to have an idea, I'll make something a bit different. So let's create a new document, and I'll be using 800 pixels by 600 for this. Here let's create a new layer and we'll select, first we'll add the wall background color. So let's click on the gradient tool here, and I'll be using the same color which I just used in my previous one, which is this color here. You could note the color code if you like, and the other part color is this. Okay, once you've done that, make sure you have radial selected for your gradient here, and we'll just give a spotlight from somewhere in the right component. Okay, that's better. I'll just try another time. Okay, once you've done that, let's create another new layer. I'll call this my back color. Okay, and let's create another new layer here, and I'll call this boxes texture. Okay, so first I'll teach you how to create a texture. You could create your own. So basically we would have textures under our gradient tool, the paint bucket, and we'd have foreground and patterns. So using the pattern, I'm going to teach you how to create one. First let's create a new document again, and I'll keep this around 9 pixels of, let's call this 20 pixels of width and 20 pixels of height. Press on OK. See, it really small, so click on your control button and click on the plus button on your keyboard, and just keep clicking on that. Okay, yeah, somewhere around this, so that you see it clearly. Okay, now what I'll do is delete the background layer. So I'm going to create a new layer. The shortcut for creating a new layer is Control Shift N, which asks you the layer options, and you could just name this, call it box. Okay, it doesn't really matter because we're not going to save this PSD. If you really like, you could, but actually we won't. So let's delete this background layer here, and once you're on this new layer, let's select our single row marquee tool, and we're going to use both the column and the single row. So I'm selecting on the row, click once somewhere here, and we'll fill this with black. So since my background is at the back, the black color, so I'm going to click on Control Backspace to fill in the black, and another one right here, Control Backspace. Okay, now I'm going to select the column marquee tool, so somewhere around, let's say here, and another one right here. Okay, Control D to deselect. So what exactly I'm doing is creating boxes. So according to these boxes, we are going to fill in our background in our other page, other document I mean, and that fills in these boxes many times, it like in a loop. So let's control 1, click on control 1, so you zoom back to 100%, and I'm going to save this as a pattern. So to do that, let's just make sure they all are exact in size here. I think we need to reduce 1 pixel here on the left to make it exactly like the right side. Yes, a bit more slaughter somewhere there, I guess. I think we'll leave this as it is. It's a bit not equal on our left side here. It doesn't matter, okay, for this tutorial. And let's go back to edit, select define pattern. Okay, once you've done that, it asks you the name of the pattern, so I'm going to give in my boxes and click on OK. Now what we do is come back to our document here, and once you have your new layer which we have created, let's go back to our paint bucket tool and select pattern. By default foreground will be selected, so select pattern and select the pattern you just created. This is the one I created previously, so this was the one we just created, which is written here, my boxes. And let's just fill in this color by just giving one simple click, and now you see all the boxes are filled in here in your background. zoom in 100% here. Okay, select your selection tool back, and you could even change the color here. In case you thought we saved it as black, which was black color here, and it's filled in black, you could change this color by going back to your blending options, layer style, go to color overlay, and changing it to white if you really want the white color. So we'll be using white here, and press on OK, and change your blending layer settings to soft light. It wouldn't apply that because you already have a effects here layer. Blending layer options would want you to move the color options here so that it can't apply this. So what we'll do basically is we'll just undo this back to normal, just set it in black, and now change your blending option style here to soft light so that it will take in. Or let's try overlay. It's just black, so it's not really applying. So let's change this back to white and apply our settings permanently. So let's double click on this side here, come back to gradient overlay or color overlay, whichever you like. So I'm going to take on white. OK, and create a new layer below. So hold on control and click on your new layer. You get a new layer below the layer you just have selected, and above layer just click on Control E to merge it with the below layer. And now what we'll do is change our blending settings here to soft light. Let's see, now we have our boxes merged with the background. You could even select overlay, which would be much better, giving you a bright look here on this corner. So let's really lower the opacity. We don't really want that so bright. Yeah, somewhere around 15-20% would be fine. Let's zoom back a bit here. Okay, this is how we create a neat box texture wallpaper. If you'd like, you could even write on this like how I had done here on the previous one. Here we have made a really tiny boxes, so you could play around with that. And for now, let's create another new layer, and I'm going to add dark shadows in the corner. So zoom back again, and for that what I'm going to do is go into my brush tool, and I'm going to select a soft big brush here, somewhere I think around 250 would be fine. Okay, and I'm going to keep the foreground color set to black, and just brush in your corners here. Make sure you have your brush set to not soft light, to normal. Just brush in your corners. Okay, once you've done that, let's go to our filter. I'm going to not keep it really so sharp circle patches here like brush. So go to your filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and let's just blur this a bit here so that it takes in a shape something. Okay, and we'll set this to overlay or soft light would be fine, so that doesn't have really dark black border. Okay, and now let's create another new layer. What I'm going to do is add some brush effects. So going back to my brush tool, open my brush options here, scroll way down to my brushes which I've got here I had used in a previous tutorial, and let's click on something like this. That's way too big, so let's reduce the size here. Okay, make sure you have your foreground color again set to white, give a click. Okay, and let's create another new layer. You're going to change that blending settings to soft light. Okay, so let's right click again and take another. Let's lower this too. Yes, fine, let's give a click. Okay, once you've done that, let's change these blending settings to soft light. So click on the layer we just created, open the drop and select soft light. We're going to try overlay, give a brighter look. Okay, and now what we could do is type in some text. So I just type in any normal text here just for now, for this knowledge. Command will be fine. Okay, and let's give this somewhere right here in the center. Let's zoom in here and let's give a gradient. For this, let's give a reflection for this. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this layer, right click, duplicate layer. Okay, and let's flip this around. So Control T, right click on your text, flip vertical, which is the last option here, and hit on enter key, and just hold the shift key and your down arrow to nudge this right down below so it looks like a reflected text, and click on your mask layer to make the reflection once, and switch back from your bucket tool to your gradient tool, and here we'll be using black to white. So I've got black and white here, and click from the bottom, raise it way up. Oops, we have to have this to linear, not radial. Click and drag up. Okay, you could play around with that. So now I'm going to change the opacity to somewhere around 10 to 20%. You could use in the manual way to bring this down, or you could just click on your keyboard, which is 2, which gives you 20%, or 1, which gives you 10%. And let's change this blend mode to soft light or overlay. I really like the ones which gives you a nice merging with the background color. Okay, once you have that, I hope this is neat as it looks, but is way different than the one which is here. So the most basic idea which makes this looks really glowy here is what I have done is make the whole wallpaper we just created here a whole duplicate. So to do that, we'd hold on our shortcut key is Control Shift Alt and E, which you see here on my layers palette. I've got the whole created wallpaper as a duplicate. So once you have that, let's Control J on this to make a duplicate, and I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we don't really want that high blur, so let's lower this a bit, somewhere around 2 to 3, not much. Press on OK, and now what I'll do is change the blending settings to soft light. You'll see this nice glowy edges in every part of this wallpaper. You can try overlay. If it's really too bright, you can lower the opacity by just reducing this. There we go. I hope this is something interesting you learned today, and keep on visiting my YouTube channel and Knowledge Oman for more tutorials. Thank you.